Hey everybody and welcome back to BK's Bullets. Today we are talking about the Gotham by Gaslight animated movie from Warner Brothers and DC Comics. Hey everybody and welcome back to BK's Bullets. I am your host, as always, Brent Casina. Today we're talking a new animated movie by Warner Brothers, Gotham by Gaslight. It's an Elseworlds tale set with Batman in the late 1800s, early 1800s, stuff like that. As you can see, we are not in the Batcave yet again. We're in another city, in another time, in another place. I'm still traveling for work on a different trip, not the same one, but yeah, so we'll just have to make do and keep up with content for you guys. So we're doing this handheld style, so excuse any shakes or whatever. But let's get right to it. So if you don't know what Elseworlds is, it's basically a former line of DC Comics in the 1990s. This one, or 89, was when Gotham by Gaslight was first published. And Gotham by Gaslight is notable because it is the first comic published underneath this Elseworlds line. So it's basically a way for DC to use, alternate universes and stuff like that and not have them inside the DC Universe continuity. Now, what gets confusing is not at the time, but previously, DC had an orrery of worlds of multiple Earths that stories could and did take place on. Then they kind of coalesced with Crisis on Infinite Earths in 1986. So this Elseworlds was kind of like a, not really a retrograde of that, but just something else to give storytellers a way to do other things without having to break what Crisis did, which was make Earth into, make all of the multiple Earths into one world. So this was just an excuse for them to get out there. So these kind of existed on their own. They never really crossed over with anything until, I think, after Infinite Crisis, when the multiverse exploded again in the DC continuity with, a new number of multiverses or different worlds that you could go to. And we saw some of these explored, I think, in Countdown to Final Crisis. We had a team of heroes. Wasn't a very good weekly comic, but we did have a team of heroes jumping from alternate world to alternate world. And I think we went to like places with Batman Red Rain or Gotham by Gaslight World. So it was kind of like all these little Elseworlds occupied their own universe and stuff like that. But anyway, let's get back to the comics. So this was published in 1989, written by Brian Augustyn and art by Mike Mignola. Now, if you go to the comic book store and pick up this trade paperback right now, you're actually getting 2 comics for your buck. Now, when I say comics, I'm not talking about the standard 20 issues right now. The original one, I've got my Comixology app open over here to give me all this info, is 49 pages. So that's about 2 comics worth in one story of Mike Mignola art. Great art. Then also in that trade paperback, you also get 64-page, the sequel, Batman Master of the Future. Written by Brian Augustyn again. This time you got art by Eduardo Barreto. Now these two guys, when you think about them now, their style doesn't really match up, but the way that Mignola drew Gotham by Gaslight, they kind of do in the pages of the graphic novel. Now, it's not a direct sequel by any means. It's just another tale set in this Batman steampunk world. So it's just, if you like steampunk Batman, you're going to like this comic. So, and it kind of, what is this called? Master of the Future takes the steampunk elements of Gotham by Gaslight to a whole new level. There's blimps, there's flying things, they have combustion engines when they shouldn't have them, things like that. Batman Gotham by Gaslight in its original form is purely Victorian-era London with a Batman kind of thing. None of the weird steampunk stuff. So the animated movie that just came out last week, I got a hold of the Blu-ray, and I was watching the digital copy here in the hotel room, is kind of a blend of those two things. You've got the steampunky kind of things with the blimps, and Batman rides a motorcycle for one scene of the movie, even though other times he's riding in a horse-drawn carriage, which kind of doesn't make sense, but whatever. It's steampunk, so we just kind of go with it, right? But it's not really as steampunky as other, I guess, things are. It's not like, I think there's like a Miyazaki steampunk movie. It's not like that. It's very, very basic, kind of low-tech steampunk, if you want to call it that. But I would call it more Victorian. So anyway, in this Gotham, Batman is Bruce Wayne. He's a billionaire still. The only difference is he doesn't have that many gadgets because the technology doesn't exist, even though we're kind of doing a steampunk thing. And he is trying to solve the murders of Jack the Ripper. So Jack the Ripper versus Batman was the storyline of the actual Gotham by Gaslight story. Not so much the second one. They kind of resolved that and did something entirely different with the second story of what's in that Gotham by Gaslight trade that you can go buy right now. So anyway, but that's what the movie is Batman versus Jack the Ripper. Now, they don't do anything that's like historically accurate of Jack the Ripper. This isn't From Hell by Alan Moore by any means. This is just a very loose adaptation of the Jack the Ripper idea of this serial killer who kind of, rips people apart and performs autopsies in the street on horrors in the dirty streets of a dirty city like London, or in this case, Gotham. So there is, some correlation between famous Gotham characters. You have Pamela Isley, who is a dancer in like Adam or Eve getup, like Adam and Eve. She's one of the prostitutes that gets attacked. You have Selena Kyle, who's kind of running some weird like burlesque dinner show. You have Alfred's in here, Commissioner Gordon. Bullock is kind of the police chief, and a couple of other characters. Harvey Dent makes an appearance, but not a whole lot of Batman villain in a steampunk way, as one might think. So it's kind of nice that they held off on what they could have done to kind of really abuse this idea. The animation is okay. It's kind of standard DC animated universe animation. It's not really done in any style. I wouldn't call it Mignola-esque or Barreto-esque. It looks kind of standard, but it does feel like they got the tone and color tone of the comic down in this film. It's a very, very dark film. It feels almost like Batman the Animated Series, where you heard that they drew on the backgrounds on black paper and painted over them, so that any light source or anything like that was a shade darker. This feels that way and in that way as well, which is kind of cool. But all in all, the voice acting's okay. Batman's played by Bruce Greenwood, who is the older captain in the new Star Trek films. He also has already played Batman in the Batman Under the Red Hood animated movie, which is a great movie. You should definitely check that out if you have not seen it already. But in this one, he's kind of so-so as Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is kind of boring in this one. Truth be told, this wasn't ever my favorite Batman story, much less my favorite Elseworlds story. I think the Justice League The Nail story is a much better Elseworlds than this one, and I would like to see that animated. That would be a pretty cool one. But anyway, so it's a serviceable job. The nice performance in this is done by Jennifer Carpenter of Dexter fame, and she's playing Selena Kyle, but instead of playing the erratic and hyper manic character of Deb that she did in that show, she's very subdued, and it almost feels like her tone of voice changed in this. She's almost unrecognizable just in the voice in this movie. So she does a really good job. So she was enjoyable. But another plus in this movie, the fight scenes are actually interesting and dynamic. They've got some set pieces, I think, that are really cool. But just the action of Batman versus Jack the Ripper, it's almost so basic that it finally makes it exciting. There's not that many kicks. It's just kind of guys brawling at each other, throwing each other on the ground and beating them up. So that was really well done here too. All in all, I saw the twist coming a mile away. Any good Batman fan will. And, truth be told, like I think I was saying earlier, this was never my favorite Batman story, much less my favorite Elseworlds story. So by far, this is not my favorite DC animated movie either. If I had to give it a rating, which I always do on these reviews anyway, so I should stop saying that, I would give it 3 stars out of 5. It's kind of an average film. Some might like it more than others. If you are into Victorian era London type of thing, or steampunk, you'll probably like this more than I will. If you liked the Assassin's Creed Syndicate game, you will like this more than I will, even though I did like that game. So that is my thoughts on Batman Gotham by Gaslight. Tell me if you liked it down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And tell me what DC animated movie you're excited about or want me to see review next. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the funny pages.